From Southwest Florida's news leader, this is Wink News, now at 7.
Tonight's top story, the clock is ticking as high winds spur a massive oil spill even closer toward the Gulf Coast. We've got team coverage on the oil spill disaster. Plus,
most Floridians already know. Unfortunately, our political system is broken.
And with that, Charlie Crist announces he is switching parties, running for the U.S. Senate seat as an independent.
A check cashing store is robbed at closing time in Fort Myers. We have the surveillance video you have to see.
But topping the news at 7, in a matter of hours, the massive oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico could reach shore.
Louisiana's governor declared a state of emergency just hours before oil is expected to wash up. Right now, crews are using booms to try and clean up the oil to lessen the impact on land. Gulf Coast states are preparing for the worst. Homeland Security says the Gulf of Mexico situation is a spill of national significance. And people along the Gulf Coast say they're used to disasters, just not like this.
We know what to tell our residents on how to prepare for a hurricane. This is a totally different animal. This would be like if it started snowing in Biloxi tomorrow. We don't have snow plows.
To a large extent, we are very, very dependent on Mother Nature at this time. This oil spill is gigantic in size, but it's very difficult to quantify because you don't know how thick it is.
Wink News has learned the slick is now 6 to 7 miles from the marshes of the mouth of the Mississippi River. The government just released these maps showing the oil spill. Now, the maps show a forecast of where the oil spill will travel over the next 72 hours.
Staging areas are set up in 5 states, including Florida, to try and keep the oil away from beaches and wetlands. The head of Florida's Environmental Protection Department says he's preparing for a long struggle.
Christina Hernandez continues our top story tonight with team coverage in Matlacha.
People here are worried about what this could mean, but they say all they can do at this point is just sit and wait. We have a picture of what the current looks like. It's called the Gulf Loop. Oil is expected to come to shore in Louisiana tomorrow. Then, as you can see, the loop will continue to follow Florida's Gulf Coast, ending in the Keys. It has people who work in the fishing and shrimping industry here worried. A lot of the seafood sold here in Matlacha comes from the water here or near the Keys. People say if the oil does travel down here, it could ruin business and ruin tourism. Now, people are watching and waiting, and they say there's no way to prepare.
We try and bring things in a little at a time, so we're always selling extremely fresh fish. So there's not a lot we can do. It's not like we can stock it up and put it on shelves and freezers.
We'll have much more on this story coming up tonight at 10 and 11 o'clock. Live in Matlacha, Christina Hernandez, Wink News Now.
Our other top story tonight, on politics, it's official. Governor Crist just announced he will run for the U.S. Senate seat as an independent. His decision comes after his support among conservatives nosedived over the past year, making a win in a GOP primary doubtful.
I haven't supported an idea because it's a Republican idea or it's a Democratic idea. I support ideas that I believe are good ideas for the people.
Crist made the announcement surrounded by supporters in St. Petersburg. Some held signs saying "Teachers for Crist." Well, you may remember the governor recently vetoed the controversial Senate Bill 6, which would have tied teacher pay to student performance.
Charlie Crist is trailing Tea Party favorite Marco Rubio badly in the polls. Crist's decision to run as an independent sets up an unusual three-way race with Rubio and likely Democratic nominee Kendrick Meek. This is what Republican opponent Marco Rubio had to say today.
When I came into this race 12 months ago, I ran because I believed I was the only candidate in this race that would stand up to what was coming out of Washington and offer a clear alternative. And nothing that has happened today has changed that. I remain the only candidate in this race that will stand up to this agenda.
Democratic candidate Kendrick Meek says now that Crist is running as an independent, it will only help his chances with voters.
The governor makes a decision he's going to run as an independent. Automatically, I become a factor in this race. There'll no longer be debates with just the two of them. I would be invited as another major candidate in the race.
And just moments after the governor decided to run as an independent, Congressman Connie Mack issued a statement saying he's withdrawing his endorsement of Charlie Crist. Mack supported the governor up until now. The congressman says he's deeply saddened by his friend's decision, calling it an act of politics, not of principle.
Charlie Crist raised millions of dollars as a Republican for Senate. But now that he's an independent, he does not have to return a single penny of it. That and a variety of other things disappoint many local Republicans. They've had questions about Charlie Crist, who supported the Obama stimulus package last year. Many believe the governor should have stayed in the primary as a Republican.
Just up and becoming independent because he can't win an election in a primary that's not a good Republican. So I'm disappointed.
However, Lee School Board member Bob Chilmonick says he will stick with Charlie Crist. Chilmonick is asking the governor to appoint him to fill a vacancy on the Lee County Commission. Chilmonick also is running in the election to fill the last 2 years of the term of the late Bob Janes.